again, and welcome back to my layout Woodhill Park. I'd like to thank everybody for the response I got from my previous update, with the running of the HSTs. It seemed to be a very popular update and I enjoyed making it, and I got a lot of good feedback. I've got this bus on the bridge that probably the eagle-eyed of you will notice is well out of date. It's about 1930s. But I see it and I just had to have it because it's got Ware, Rye House and Hoddesdon as destinations, and would have been a bus. I think it ran across to Nazing Common, which would have run across the bridge years ago, but it is out of its era. I just fancied it. It's just one of those Rule 1 things that you don't have every single thing on your layout that is from the 1980s. It's if you fancy it, you still use it, but on the whole I do stick to 1980s stuff. Anyway, we'll get on with what I got up to alter this bridge. I've measured and cut up the wall extension I want to put in, and what it is, it's just foam board, not foam X, but foam board. It's easily available from places like the Range, and it's paper covered foam. It's very light and great to work with, and when you stick it together with angles it becomes quite strong, but still easily taken apart and work with. And what I've done is got some plasticard brick sheet and super glued it onto the foam board, and that's how I do these jobs. So it just gets stuck on here and then cut to size, and it's easily broken to match the size of the actual foam board that you're working with. And I've come up with this, but sadly I didn't have big enough sheets left, and rather than buy more I have had to join the sheet, but hopefully when the paint's on it you won't see it that much. But yeah, you could go and buy another sheet, not too dear, but it all keeps adding up, so I've gone to use some of my bits and pieces instead. Now, all I need to do is paint it in the base coat, like the bridge is painted already, which is the tarmac colour I use quite a bit. Now, paint's a little bit thick, so I think I might need to thin that down. I'll be back in a minute. Right, back again, and it's watered down a bit. It's way too thick to use. It's probably due to the temperatures up here. It's thickening up. Anyway, I use this darker grey, which I use on the roads as well, urban nights. But because I'm going to put white sort of washes on this to enhance the brickwork, it will go a lighter grey when I'm finished, and it hopefully will match the bridge that I've done already. Right, that's that painted. As you saw me clearing out the car park a bit more, widening the car park, I've moved the fence back and got rid of some of the undergrowth. I'm just going to go over there and paint a bit more of the car park just to blend it in. So I'm back over where the bridge is and slight extension to the car park. I haven't cleaned this completely back to the board, still a bit rough, but there's always a rough area in a car park where there's loose chippings and stuff where it's not been finished off properly, so I think that'll be fine once I put a bit of paint over it. Just extends the width of the car park a bit, as the car park's a bit too narrow. Must go and get a bit of sponge in a minute. Certainly looks better when you stipple it with a sponge rather than brush strokes. Move my vehicles out of the way. It's always something you forget to move. I'm now going to put some plastic card brick sheet along here as well, just to fill out the inside of this part of the wall. But yeah, it's getting there. A lot of filling about, lots of bits and pieces to play with and try and get things to line up. But I think in the end it's just about gonna work out, I think. This is probably the most difficult part I've got to do, and that's try and glue it all together. This is just loose at the moment, so I'm going to have to glue sort of loads of different sort of parts all at once. It's going to be a hot melt glue, and I'm going to run some super glue around here, so as I push it in, the super glue glues to the plastic card I've lined round inside. But yeah, I've also got to put hot melt glue down here, and here, and push it all together in one go, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. But that's what it's like when you're building things onto things that already exist. And I've got an area here that I'm going to have to tidy up, and a bit of paving to tidy here, and some coping stone to go on top. But here we go, this could get messy, I think. It seems to have gone in there fairly well. Got a bit of glue on top of there, hot melt glue. I'll just pick that off in a little bit. You can't see it, but there's a bit of a gap and an angle between the bridge and the wall down this side. But there'll be a handy little bush that goes in that little gap, I think. As There's quite a lot of undergrowth growing up these bridges. I think it's going to stay put now. Yep. So is that? Yeah, that's cool enough to pick off. It'll probably take the paint with it. Might be lucky. Yeah, that's alright, didn't take the paint off. Right, just going to tidy up this area, put stones on top, and add a bit of pavement into that area there, which is quite difficult to achieve in all one piece, so I've got a little bit of a corner here to finish off. When I previously dismantled some of the wall over here, I kept the top stones off the wall and other bits, and that's why it's wise to keep things, because I've now got some ready painted coping stones to go on top of this wall that I saved, so they can go straight on there, and hopefully I've got a bit to go that way as well. And then just got to fill this unsightly gap here and here, and a bit of painting to do, and we're getting on the way to completing this one little job out of many. Right, I think that just about does it. A little bit of artist work at the end, and just by looking at the camera I can see I need to touch a little bit of the edging of the pavement up. Oops. Get the camera tilted the right way. That's it. Yeah, I could do with a bit more touch up around there, but to be honest the camera's in the way and I can't get to see it from the angle I'm at, so I'll do that in a bit off camera. But the paving stones, I think they're alright. They look grubby and dirty like I want them to look. And that's quite close up with the camera, so if I pull away, sort of all blends in. And we've now got a corner there that's open, possibly to allow for viewing when you're pulling out of the junction, because I've never thought about it before. It would be extremely hard to look to the left if there wasn't something like that, so maybe that was why it was done. Anyway, that's more like the bridge of Broxbourne now. I think there possibly might be some shrubs growing here, or sort of small trees, and there's a bit of a railing here, I think, with a low wall. I don't know if I'll do that or not. I might just put a railing here. Right, I think I've finished. I've added a bit more detailing and interest around the area, and I did put a fence in there like what's at Broxbourne, a rusty old sort of pedestrian fence. I don't know why it's there, but there is an old rusty fence there. And I've moved the sign, as you can see, because the sign actually sits here. So everything's back together now, and I can move on to another bit of detailing. I can show you actually the other side of the bridge. It's only really a little bit of detailing, but it's that sort of thing that brings things to life and make them look closer to reality. So, well worth doing. I've now moved on to improve the bridge a bit. As at Broxbourne, there's brick on top of the ironwork, and the reinforcement is thinner under here. It won't be exactly the same, but it will portray it in a better light than it does at the moment. And I'll be changing the colour of the bridge as well. Pretty much like I started with, really. A light blue, because that is the actual colour of it, or was the actual colour before the bridge was replaced, that is. Well, I've pretty much finished the bridge update. What I did was use plasticard and foam board, well, it's foam X actually, which is a stronger foam board, and the plasticard is a sort of tile pattern, as the brick patterns were too small really. I wanted great big engineering bricks, so that's what I used, and it's double-sided, as plasticard on this side, plasticard on the inside, but obviously a deeper piece to cover up the inside of the bridge, so it looks like walling on the inside, and on the outside the wall is just on top of the girder bridge. And I weathered it with some weathering powders and glued it into place. But I glued it with Copydex so I can remove it if I need to. This bit on top, this coping stones, I suppose you might say, this is from a Pico bridge kit, and it's just come separately with the kit, so I've used the top of it to go on top of here just to finish off the edge of the bridge. Excuse me. The path over the back, I was actually going to remove the pavement and put some of the wheels pavement there, but I thought I'd have a go before I did that at repainting it in a beige and then wiping it off. Well, painting it in a beige and then painting watered down grey paint over it to add sort of dirt, and then wiping it off, and you get an ingrained dirt look on the footpath. And I thought I'd do the same process with this embossed stuff that I originally put down, and it did make it look a lot better, so I think I'll probably keep it in place, and I'll do any of the other pavement I've done in this embossed plastic, as it seems to improve it. The bridge at Broxbourne has just lately been updated, but I've managed to find a couple of old photos, and it was very hard to find a photo of this side of the bridge here, but it was in really poor disrepair, and there was all weeds and everything growing out of it, and it was, well, you could see why they renewed the bridge. Anyway, that was up to date, so in the 1980s I don't think it would have looked quite as bad as that, so hopefully this depicts what it would look like in the 80s, which will have been fairly clean. I suppose I can add a bit of sort of greeny grime to it and just play about with it with other weathering colours. Just easy just to add bits and pieces as I go, but for the moment I think this is a vast improvement myself, and starting to look a bit more like the bridge at Broxbourne. It's never going to completely look like it because the bridge, actually there's two bridges, two iron bridges. There's one over here as well, but I've chosen to have walling for the rest of it, and as it goes over to the other side of the bridge, then it's nothing like the bridge at Broxbourne. There is no level crossing over there and no tracks at the top. It just does a dog's leg and goes down to the other side. But it's all about the entrance to Broxbourne, really. stupid me forgot to turn the sound on the mics, so I just did a load of filming and I've got no soundtrack to it, so I've been blathering away to myself, not knowing that I can't even hear it on video. Anyway, just to recap what I have done, the pavement along where you see the taxi sitting and whatever, I just painted a beige, and this beige all the way down the pavement down into the station. It's paving stones that aren't ideal, they're sort of embossed pavement, and I'm not that keen on them as they don't look as good as the wheels paving stones. The wheels paving stones come out really well with a bit of a grey wash on them, but I did a similar thing to these embossed paving stones, so I painted them a sort of beigey colour and then put a grey wash over them. The grey wash I just put on really quick, a very watery wash, and wiped it off very quick, doing small bits at a time. If you do too much, it just lifts the paint that you've just put on the paving stones, so you don't want to push too hard. In some areas I did push too hard, and while I was trying to film it, it did lift up, but the quicker you wipe it off the better, and you end up with a reasonable sort of dirty pavement. But the same process on the wheels paving stones, without having to paint them, I think was better. I also was talking about the soot that I was adding down the inside walls of the bridge, just to show diesel fumes over the years and general grottiness. You just sort of, it's nice, should I say, to add some of these sort of details of grime and age. It just makes things look a little bit more realistic. And I've done the bridge, I've weathered that with rusting and stuff. I also then said I was going to get on and do my station, so instead of creating stuff, I started disassembling it and removed all the vehicles and everything, and the lighting from around the station. My plans are to redo the building, which is an Art Deco building at the moment, and turn it into something that looks like the station at Broxbourne, a more modern building. Also, the walling against the platform, I'm thinking of removing it, but maybe halving it in size, and then adding a fence on top. The metal fence, like railings, that will allow me to film through into the station, even though it won't be authentic because there's no platform there in reality, but it will sort of make it somewhat like it. I started to go to work on changing the station, but I haven't got enough time to show you in this video, so I just made a start. I've used too much of this black tack in the past. I won't be using this again, it just gets everywhere, it's messy stuff, and if you want to hold figures down, it's much better to use bases, very fine plastic clear bases with a bit of Copydex. I use Copydex, then you can remove them and you can just roll the Copydex up and throw it away, and it doesn't damage the surface or the figure. Anyway, before I go, this is basically the new station. There's not much of it, it's just a square. It's not the right height yet because it's got to be cut down to go over the platform, but basically this is the size of the new station. Not much to show for it, I know, but as you see me take it all apart and all the other stuff I've been doing, this video is a bit long now, so in order to see what I've done with the station in the future, you're going to have to wait until the next update, I'm afraid. is I now need to go and have a cup of coffee, as it's getting a bit cold up here and I need to warm up. So thanks very much for watching again, and I'll see you again next time, hopefully with a station build that's coming on to some degree. Bye for now.